Okay, so good morning everyone. My name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we'll be discussing Indian Express newspaper. We'll try to cover up important articles from the day. As you might have gone through the newspaper, so you will realize that there is nothing much to discuss today. But there are 4 or 5 articles we have taken out of the, you can say, newspaper for our discussion. So we will look at these. These articles are important from your international relations point of view because one article is related to India, China, LAC talks, and second article is related to SCO summit, which is going to happen in Pakistan. There is two type of summit. We will be really, reading about that. But the thing is, one of them is happening in Pakistan, and Pakistan has invited Mr. Modi to visit for the summit. So that is these two things are the developments in the international relations. Then we will be talking about the INS Arighat. Okay, so this is the new you can say commission in the Indian Navy, which is helping us improve our triad capacities. So we will be talking about that. Now talking about the outline of the program, as I told you earlier also, we always discuss the practice question first, and then we will go to a fact of the day. Then we will discuss certain articles from our constitution, and then we will come to the, you can say, our newspaper discussions. Okay, this is the front page of the newspaper. We will try to cover up this news article, that is LAC talks. Then we will also cover up this new chip push. Center is ready with the 15 billion blueprint. Okay, so basically when we are talking about, we have this semiconductor mission as well. Other than that also, we are trying to push the manufacturing capabilities in our country so that we can be you can say part of the global supply chain in the semiconductors. Okay, so we will be talking about all these aspects today. So let's start with the first part, that is your practice question, which was given to you in the previous lecture. Okay, what is the name of a humanoid which will be part of Gaganyaan mission? We have discussed that a skull of a humanoid has been made. Okay, yesterday we have talked about that. Okay, so options are Vyomitra, Agni, Bhumi or Valmiki. Okay, so when we are talking about, if you have little bit knowledge of epistemology, so you will be able to understand that Vyom means space. Okay, Mitra means, you can say, a friend. So option A is the most reliable answer over here. Other than that also, when we are talking about the current affairs, we have discussed that the name of that particular humanoid is Vyomitra. Okay, so next we will be seeing a fact of the day. Humayun's tomb is called as dormitory of Mughals. Okay, now, you know, in Delhi there is this area that is having you can say, if you have visited Delhi, there is this area of Nizamuddin Aulia's Dargah, and nearby that you will realize that there are many graves which are there. Okay, and since these graves are of importance because these are of some of the emperors, okay, some of the kings which has happened, or you can say they happen to be the rulers at the time when we are talking about the medieval India. Okay, now one of them was Humayun. Okay, if we talk about Humayun, Humayun was the second Mughal emperor in India. Okay, so he was buried over here in Delhi, and he is having a tomb over there. The tomb was built by the wife of Humayun. Okay, now that tomb is called as dormitory of the Mughals. Why? Because you will realize that in the vicinity or in that particular tomb there are various graves which are there. Okay, the family members of Humayun, his wife, sons, there are other you can say other graves as well, unidentified graves as well, which are present over there. Other than that, you know that there is this famous personality Dara Shikoh in our history. It was recently realized that he is also buried over there, but we are not able to identify yet that which grave is his. Okay, so that is why, since mostly rurals, or you can say mostly members of the family are basically there, you can say there are more than 100 graves which are present in this particular area of Humayun's tomb, or you can say that particular you can say premises of the tomb. So this is why it is called as dormitory of the Mughals. Okay, that is one thing. Other than that, I would like to tell you one interesting fact over here, that when we are talking about this area of Humayun's tomb, in the vicinity you will be seeing that there is this Safdarjung, there is this Abdul Rahim Khana tomb. Okay, so these tombs are over there because it was believed in Islam that if they are buried in the vicinity of a saint, that is Nizamuddin Aulia, okay, so they will be, you can say, that would be considered auspicious. Okay, so that is why you will be seeing that in the vicinity of Nizamuddin Dargah there are various tombs which are available over there. Okay, so that is the interesting fact from the history which we have discussed today. Okay, now moving further, we will be talking about the constitution, we were at the part 5, that is the union government. We have discussed the president, we have discussed the vice president. Now today we will be discussing two factors over here. One will be the pardoning power of the president. Okay, that article is important for you. We will discuss what kind of pardoning power president has. Other than that, we will be discussing certain things about the council of ministers. Okay, now article 72, power of president to grant pardons etc. and to suspend, remit or commute sentence in certain cases. Okay, now this is the power which has been given to, you can say, president. Now president cannot use this power on his own discretion. Most of the time you will be seeing, when we are talking about president does this or president does that, that means that on the aid and advice of the, you can say, council of minister, because that is what given in the constitution. President cannot take, you can say, discretional decisions. Okay, there are certain situational discussions which are there in case there is no majority in the government, if there is a hung parliament. In such cases, president can invite a particular party or a particular person to form the government, and then they can prove the confidence in the house. These are certain, you can say, situational discussions. But when we are talking about president's role as such, we will be seeing that most of the time he will be acting on the aid and advice of council of minister. Okay, now let's see, article is talking about the power of president to grant, you can say, these pardons and suspend, remit or commute the sentences. Okay, now let's see what these words actually mean here. You will be seeing pardon. The president can totally absolve or, you can say, acquit the person from the offense and let him go free like a normal citizen. Okay, now acquittal or the absolving a person, that means that he will be having a status that he has never committed that particular crime. Okay, that means that he is free of all the charges, he is free of any kind of conviction which was there. Okay, so that is pardoning power. Okay, so that is one thing. Then comes the commute, to reduce the type of punishment into a lesser harsh one. Okay, now here you will be seeing they are actually talking about the type of, you can say, punishment. Now the type of punishment has been changed from the harsh to a lesser, you can say, degree one. Okay, so here you can see, for example, it is given that rigorous imprisonment has been converted into a simple imprisonment. That is a power where you can say president can commute a sentence from harsh one to simpler one. Okay, so that is second thing. Now coming to the remission. Okay, now in remission, to reduce the punishment without changing the nature of the punishment. Okay, now let's say someone has been given a punishment of 20 years imprisonment, but he has not changed the nature. 20 years of rigorous imprisonment, and he has not changed the nature. He has actually shortened the, you can say, duration of that particular sentence. So from 20 years he has done it for 14 years or 10 years, but the nature of the imprisonment is same, that is rigorous one. Okay, so that is basically, you can say, remission. So we have seen pardon, we have seen commutation and the remission. Okay, now moving further, reprieve. Okay, a delay is allowed in the execution of a sentence, usually a death sentence, for a guilty person to prove his innocence. Okay, so basically reprieve means there was a delay which has been given to a person. Okay, so that he might go for any kind of options which are available. Okay, so that is there. Next is respite, reduce the degree of punishment looking at specific grounds. Okay, so that means that respite over here is meaning that you are basically, you can say, reducing the degree of the punishment because there exists a reasonable ground. There is some reason which has been given. That reason can be pregnancy, that reason can be, you can say, bad health, etc. So these reasons will be there, and because of which if you are reducing the sentence, that means it is a respite. Okay, so you can see pardon means absolving the, you can say, convict from all the charges. Second is commutation or the commute, that is to change the type of punishment. Okay, then third is remission, that is to shorten the duration of punishment, nature being the same. Okay, then comes reprieve, that is basically a delay which is temporarily given to a particular person to explore the options. Then respite, respite means that you are reducing the sentence because there is a specific ground for that. Okay, now note, a court martial is a trial in a military court of a member of armed forces who are charged with breaking military laws. Most of the time you must have seen that there is this, whenever there is some disciplinary action which has been taken in the military, you will be hearing this word, that is court martial. Okay, so basically militaries are not working on the civilian rules, they have their own rules. That is why that is you can say a word which is used in the military, and they have their own courts, and accordingly they will be having the procedure as well. Okay, so now coming back to the article 74, we have discussed the pardoning power. Now 74 article, that is talking about the council of minister. Here you will be seeing there shall be a council of minister headed by prime minister at the to aid and advise the president, who shall in exercise of his function act in accordance with such advice. Okay, so I'm sorry. So it is given that there shall be a council of minister. That is a mandatory provision in our constitution, that because they have used shall. Second thing is it is to aid and advise the president. Okay, so that is another thing, that president will be acting on the aid and advice of the council of minister. This council of minister will be headed by prime minister. Okay, so prime minister will be having a status of first among the equal in the council of minister. Then whatever advice is provided by council of minister, okay, so president has to act on that. Now let's say whether this advice is binding or not. Okay, earlier it was when we are talking about the reconsideration. Okay, so you can send it for the reconsideration, president can send it for the reconsideration to the council of minister. But if council of minister is sending it back the way it is, or the with any kind of amendment, in that case you have to actually consider that you have to act accordingly. Okay, so you cannot send it back again. So here you will be seeing, provided that the president may require the council of ministers to reconsider such advice, either generally or otherwise, the president shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. So basically once that reconsideration is done, you have to act on it, you cannot deny that. Okay, so basically president is bound by the aid which is given by the council of ministers. There is one chance that he can ask for the reconsideration. Okay, so that is there. The question whether any, and if so what, advice was tendered by the ministers to the president shall not be inquired into any court. Okay, so basically here it is said that if there was any kind of advice given to it, given to the president, and if it was given, then what was the advice which is given to the president. Such questions you cannot ask in the court, because this is a procedure. That means that there is always a advice which is been given. Okay, now what advice has been given, that you cannot ask in court of law. Okay, so that is something you can say that that is some kind of limitation on the judiciary, that they cannot go for the judicial review of the aid which is provided by the council of minister in certain cases. Okay, so that is about the you can say certain articles from with respect to president and council of minister. We have already seen the vice president part. Now we will be moving forward with the first article of the day, that is talking about the LAC talks. Okay, you know that we had a Galwan issue. After that Galwan issue, there was this military level as well as the diplomatic talks which has started between the Chinese officials and the Indian side of that. So basically there was recently the one meet was there in the Beijing, and in that meet there was you can say a progressive or a positive you can say inclination which has been seen over there, because the words they have used this time, that has been used for the first time. Okay, so let's see. LAC talks India China for the intensified contact to narrow down the differences. This word intensified contacts to you can say narrow down the differences. This is the lines which has been used for the first time, and when we are talking about the international diplomacy, these lines means a lot. Okay, so let's see over here. Here you know that there was this talks which has begun in May 2020 because of the action which has happened on the line of actual control in the eastern sector of Ladakh. Okay, so here you will be seeing frank, constructive and forward looking exchanges of views which has been declared at this particular meeting which has happened. Narrow down the differences and find early resolution of the outstanding issues. Okay, so they have said that this is the conclusion. They have actually considered this particular position in that particular meeting. Here you will be seeing intensified contact through diplomatic and the military channels. Now as I told you, there was this diplomatic as well as the military channels which are working on the LAC situation. So they will be intensified the contacts and they are trying to get a solution out of it. Okay, the expression narrow down the differences has been used for the first time in the bilateral talks on the border standoff, and in diplomatic parlance it indicates a progress. Okay, so as I told you that these statements which they are making, otherwise when we see that India and USA is having a strategic partnership, okay, they have enhanced the strategic partnership to another level. So these words in international relations have importance. Since we are not going into such details of all these things, so we are not aware of that, but the thing is, the statement like this, that we are narrowing down the differences, we are working on narrowing down the differences, this is having a positive you can say indication when we talk about the diplomatic parlance. Okay. Now coming to the next, that Modi has confirmed his readiness to take part in the BRICS summit, which is to happen in Russia this time, okay, in October. Prime Minister Modi and Chinese president will be meeting in that particular visit, because obviously India is a member of BRICS and China is also a member of BRICS, so they will be meeting over there. Working mechanism for the consultation and coordination on the India-China border affairs. This is the name of the mechanism under which these talks are being happening. You don't have to remember that. I just have highlighted it for you can say just to know that there is something some kind of mechanism which exists over here. Now coming to the issues, when we talk about India-China issues, border issues or the issues related to LAC, you will be seeing that there are various areas which has been in news for various times. Since they have mentioned the name of the areas, so I thought that I would let you understand why these names are important for us. We will be seeing them on the map as well. So here you will be seeing here Depsang Plains, okay. You must have heard about the Daulat Beg Oldie area. Okay, the Daulat Beg Oldie area is quite significant for us because we have a high altitude airstrip over there. Okay, in the case of any kind of military action or the military deployments or movements, it is quite necessary or quite strategic for us to use this airstrip, because we will be deploying troops with the help of this. We will be supplying the ammunition, etc., with the help of that particular airstrip. Okay, now this area Depsang Plains, this is a disputed area because this is a legacy issue as well, because there has been a long time since this is in issues. Then there is this Damchok, we will be talking about that on the maps. Then we have Gogra Hot Spring area, which was in news because of the Galwan issue, because when this Galwan issue has happened, that time they have actually shown the aggression, Chinese part has shown the aggression on various parts. Okay, one of them was Gogra Hot Spring. Okay, then here you will be seeing that we have Galwan Valley, which is also a point of conflict. We have north and southern banks of the Pangong Tso Lake. Okay, so that is there. Gogra Hot Spring we have already seen. Okay, so these are certain areas, okay, which are in the news various times. So these areas are important from your exams point of view. Now let's understand the situation on the Indo-China border. Okay, so here you will be seeing that when we talk about India and China's border, that has been divided into three parts. Okay, one is your western sector or the western side. So till here, when we talk about the area that is Ladakh. Okay, now this Ladakh sector is one that is in the western sector, okay, or the western side of the you can say LAC. Second is here, that is the middle one. Okay, now when we are talking about the areas of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, these are the areas which are least you can say when we are talking about the controversial with respect to the China and India relations, because these areas are basically highly populated areas. Okay, there are people who are living over there, and these people identify themselves as you can say Indians. They know that there is this village, that is the boundary of their village. So basically they know their boundaries, and that is why Chinese aggression could not happen over here. Now when we are talking about the Ladakh sector over here, the problem here is that these are the you can say population is very less over here, or you can say these are less dense areas with respect to the population, and the geography of this is very harsh. Okay, and because of which people are not living over there. Okay, mostly you will be seeing that these are remote areas, and because of which the troops, Chinese troops, used to come to you can say for the patrolling, and they will get inside the Indian territories. They will mark their you can say some kind of signs over there that this is their Chinese territory, and they will go back. Now since this is a harsh area, and since the deployment of the troop is not up to that extent, because of which what happens is there are patrollings which are going on over there. So Indian side is also going for the patrolling. When Indian side is going there, and they will be seeing that there are certain signs which are put by the Chinese military, what they will do is they will remove the signs, they will get inside the other territory, and they will put their signs that this is our territory, and because of which this area is basically highly controversial, and you will be seeing that mostly you will be seeing certain aggressions in that particular area. Okay, and you know that there was this war, and after that there was this LAC, line of actual control, which was created over here. This area over here, that is of the Aksai Chin area, which has been illegally occupied by China. This area belongs to India. There is no doubt about that. Okay, so that is certain thing. Now coming to the next one, that is basically the eastern sector or the eastern side of the LAC. Here you will be seeing that some part of the Sikkim over here, and then here you will be seeing this particular area of Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, now in Arunachal also they are having these issues of stapled visa. They are going for the aggression. So all these things are also happening in this particular area, because this is also a hilly terrain. Okay, so these are the issues with respect to the India and China border. Now if we talk about this particular map over here, you will be seeing that this is the area of Aksai Chin which we have talked about. Okay, this has been illegally occupied by China. This is India's part. Okay, second thing is, here you will be seeing this particular line. This is your LAC, line of actual control. Okay, so when we are talking about the areas like Demchok, here you will be seeing that this is on the you can say border. This is Demchok. We have seen that Demchok is a legacy issue, because that has been there for a long time. Second thing is, here you will be seeing that this is the Daulat Beg Oldie. We have just discussed that why Daulat Beg Oldie is important. This area is basically your Despang Plains. Okay, so that is one thing. Moving further, you will be seeing that we have Galwan over here, we have Hot Spring over here, we have Pangong Tso Lake. This lake is something like this over here in this map. It is not visible. So it is something like this. Okay, small part is there in India, most of it is in you can say China. Okay, so this is certain areas which are important. This area over here, that is south of Pangong Tso, we have Chusol area. This Chusol area is important because most of the time you will be seeing these military talks, they has happened over here as well. Okay, so that is about Indo-China border and the issues which are related to it. Okay, now moving further to the next article, which is talking about INS Arighat. Okay, recently we have commissioned one more you can say we has a submarine introduction in our you can say Navy, that is basically INS Arighat. So let's talk about that. Here you will be seeing India Thursday got a second nuclear submarine, that is INS Arighat. Okay, into Navy, significantly boost the country's deterrence capabilities. Since it is a nuclear submarine, okay, so that is why it is actually increasing India's you can say deterrence. Okay, deterrence means that the ability to make sure that the other enemies etc. do not attack you, because they fear that we are having the nuclear capabilities, and if they attack, they might have to respond to such capabilities, and that is what is basically deterrence. Okay, now since it is a nuclear submarine, and it will be able to launch the attacks from the you can say air, land and the waters. So basically that is why it is a nuclear triad which India has actually now India has a nuclear triad. That means that India can actually go for launching attacks or nuclear attacks from air, water and land. Okay, so in the water, if we are talking about the capacity, so INS Arighat becomes important for us. Okay, now Arihant class vessels, this is an Arihant class vessel because as I told you that it is the second submarine, second nuclear submarine. The first one was Arihant. Arihant was made with the collaboration with Russian collaboration. Okay, and now when we are talking about Arighat, this is indigenously made. Okay, all the components are basically made in India, so we will be talking about that. So here you can see INS Arighat will enhance nuclear deterrence, help in establishing strategic balance and peace in the region, and play a decisive role in the security of the country. Okay, INS Arighat will join its predecessor, that is INS Arihant, strengthening the country's nuclear triad, the ability to fire nuclear missiles from platforms that is in land, air and water. Okay, so basically here this is the definition of triad, nuclear triad. When we see, that is the ability to launch nuclear attacks from land, sea and water, land, sea and air. So that is why this definition becomes important. If they are asking you a question about the security of India or the you can say nuclear doctrine etc., so this is something you should mention, that is nuclear triad. India is having the capabilities now. Okay, now moving further, INS Arihant project was initiated over 3 decades ago, involving Russian assistance. As I told you that Arihant was made with the Russian assistance. Okay, commissioned into August 2016, and they have gone for the first deterrence trial or the patrol in 2018. Okay, so you can say that in 2018 it was commissioned for the patrolling. Okay, So basically that was about the INS Arihant. INS Arihant has also carried out successful launch of submarine launched ballistic missiles in October 2022. Okay. One homework would be for you that you have to go and read about the Arihant, because we will be covering the Arighat. Okay, so go through the features of the Arihant. Okay, now as I told you that Arihant was made by the Russian help. Okay, now moving further, it has the distinction of having the indigenous systems and equipments which were conceptualized, designed and manufactured in the or you can say integrated in Indian by the Indian scientists. Okay, so basically most of the equipments and the systems which are used in the INS Arighat has been designed and integrated, manufactured in India only by the Indian scientists. Okay, so that is a good achievement. Okay, now here when we are talking about certain features of the Arighat or certain details about the Arighat, here you will be seeing it is India's second indigenously built nuclear powered ballistic submarine missile. Okay, so this is SSBN, following India's first nuclear submarine, that is INS Arighat, which was commissioned in 2018. We have talked about that. Now it was constructed at the Indian Navy Shipbuilding Center, that is SBC, in Visakhapatnam. It represents a critical component of India's nuclear triad, which we have already discussed. Now it measures 111.6 meters in length, and it has a beam of 11 meters and draught of 9.5 meters and displacement of 6,000 tons. Okay, so displacement of 6,000 tons means that much water it will replace because of its weight. Okay, so that is there. Now other features, if we see, it is powered by the pressurized water reactor. Okay, additional safety measures are also there. There are two standby auxiliary engines and retractable thruster which is there for the emergency. Okay, when we are talking about the power and the mobility in the emergency situation, we have this retraceable thruster. And then when we talk about the the speed, here you will be seeing that it can achieve the speed of 12 to 15 knots, or you can say 22 to 28 kilometer per hour when on the surface, and when we are talking about underwater, that will be having a speed that is 24 knots. Okay, now it can carry up to 4 nuclear capable K4 SLBMs. SLBMs, these are basically your submarine launched ballistic missiles. Okay, with a range of over 3,500 kilometers. Okay, so that is the range of these you can say SLBMs. Then when we are talking about the 12 conventional warheads and K15 SLBM with a range of 750 kilometers, this particular you can say line over here, or the you can say point over here, you don't have to remember it word by word, just know that it is able to carry certain missiles. Okay, that name if you remember, that is submarine launched ballistic missiles. Okay, which is having a range that is 3,500 kilometers, or there are other missiles warheads which are also having this range of 750 kilometers as well. Okay, now it also carries the torpedoes and the mines. So this is about your certain features. For your exams point of view, 1, 2 and 3 features would be sufficient. Okay, and the last slide will be important for you. Okay, so these two things are there about the INS Arighat. Now moving to the next article, which is talking about the Pakistan invites Modi to SCO meetings in Islamabad in October. Okay, you know that in October we have BRICS summit as well, we have SCO summit as well. So Pakistan has invited. BRICS summit will be there in Russia, and this SCO summit will be there in you can say Pakistan. Now when we talk about SCO, it is a rotational you can say chairmanship, and Pakistan will be heading this particular meeting this time. Pakistan invited Indian Prime Minister to Shanghai Cooperation Organization's councils of head of government meeting. Okay, so there are two kind of meeting which are happening over here. One is the here you will be seeing, that is the you can say council of heads of the government meeting, and second is council of the head of states meeting. Okay, most of the time when we are talking about the head of the government meeting, so from our India side, most of the time external affairs minister or the defense minister has gone to this particular meeting. And when we are talking about the head of states meeting, in that particular meeting the prime ministers and the presidents will be attending. Okay, so that is there. So in the last meeting also our external affairs minister has gone to the meeting. Okay, now rotation or rotating chairmanship of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and because of which Pakistan will be holding this meeting. In that capacity, will host 2-day in-person SCO head of government meeting in Pakistan. Okay. Now SCO Council of Heads of the Government level is the second highest body first is basically the head of state council. Okay, so there are, when we are talking about SCO, there are certain divisions, you don't have to remember that. One is the first or the highest level summit, that is the head of state summit, and then the head of government level summit, that is the second highest. Okay, so that is there, which will be happening in Pakistan. And when we are talking about the Pakistan does not have any direct bilateral trade with India. After the Uri and Pathankot which has happened, if India has taken a restraint from having any kind of relations with Pakistan. We have said that we will be not be having the trade relations, because terrorism and trade cannot go hand in hand. That is what the you can say our Prime Minister has said at that point of time. And after that, we did not have very cordial relations with Pakistan. Okay, since then. Then when we are talking about the SCO, they are talking about the membership over here. So let's see over here that SCO now has 10 members. Okay. Now here you will be seeing that one is Russia, second is Republic of Kazakhstan, then Kyrgyzstan, Kyrgyz Republic, then Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, India, Pakistan and China. Okay, so here you will be seeing these are the 8 ones. Okay, other than that, recently Iran was inducted. Iran became a full-time member, and the last one or the most recent one is Belarus. Okay, so Belarus was the recent one that was inducted in 2024. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So you will be remembering all these things. Now SCO has 10 members, and this is the map. Other than that, Iran and Belarus has been you can say introduced, or you can say inducted as members of SCO. Now we have 10 members. Moving further, next is talking about the semiconductor chips. You know that we have this mission, national semiconductor mission as well. Okay, the idea behind this is that we want to be the part of the global supply chain in the chip manufacturing. Okay, because you know that the electronics and the solar panels or the renewable energy, if we talk about these electronics chips, are very important. Okay, other than that, electrical vehicle also, this will be important, and we know that this is the future. When we talk about the electronics and the media, when we see laptops, when we talk about TV, LEDs, etc., all these things are having some kind of reliance on the electronic chips, and that is why India wants to become you can say manufacturing hub in this particular area. Now there are certain issues which has happened in China, because of which these companies are shifting their base from China to other countries. We have Taiwan, which is called as the you can say chip capital of the world. Other than that, there are some units which are there in Malaysia as well. Okay, when we talk about the assembling, Malaysia is having a good hold on that. In India, we have started with the assembling most of the time. We will be seeing that there are two components. One is manufacturing, then we have integration and assembling. India has given the push to assembling as well, but recently now we are moving towards the, you can say, manufacturing, because when we talk about assembling, that means you have to import the components from outside and then you will be assembling that in India. But the thing is, Malaysia and there are other South Asian countries which are good at it, and they are doing it already. Now we are having a focus on the manufacturing capacity. Okay, so now here you will be seeing government has come up with a new package that is of you can say 15 billion US dollars. Okay, earlier there was this another package which has been given, that is 10 billion. Now this has been increased to 15 billion. That is to give a push. Earlier there was certain kind of subsidies which used to be given. Now the thing is, we will be going for the more and more capital expenditure and not for the subsidies. Okay, so here you will be seeing after having committed nearly all of the 10 billion US dollars in subsidies under the ambitious semiconductor manufacturing incentive policy, now in the second phase we have come up with the outlay of 15 billion US dollars for the capital support of the raw material, gases used in the chip manufacturing, and the reduction in the submarine subsidies will be there. Okay, now here you will be seeing the new scheme could see an increased focus on the fabrication plants and more advanced display technologies as India look to climb the complexity ladder in the chip ecosystem. Okay, beyond packaging and the assembling. So here you will be seeing that beyond packaging and assembling, we will be having a focus on the right now when we are talking about we will be having a focus on the fabrication plants or the manufacturing capabilities. Okay, so that is there. When we talk about the packaging and all, Malaysia is already having a stronghold. Okay, so that is there. Here you will be seeing a new 2.0 scheme should have a higher outlay of 15 billion remain competitive, given that many countries are trying to attract chip manufacturing companies. Okay, so as I told you, they are shifting the base from China, so that is why many countries are trying to do that, and in that you can say process, we have also come up with the this particular you can say outlay of 15 billion, so that we are giving this indication that India is spending in this particular industry, so countries can come and invest in India with respect to that. Okay. India has ambitious or the ambition to become the major chip manufacturing hub on the lines of the United States, Taiwan, South Korea, and has been you can say courting foreign companies to set operations in the country. So that is the idea behind this particular you can say outlay. As I told you, we will be focusing more on the capex, and the capex subsidies, if we talk about, as I told you, we will be spending on the raw materials, gases, etc., but we will be providing certain subsidy as well, but it will be reduced. Earlier it was 50%, now it will be reduced 30% for the conventional packaging and 40% for the advanced packaging technologies. Okay. Now could also offer capital equipment and the ecosystem support such as gases, chemicals, raw materials needed as the assembling and the testing plants. Okay. So as I told you, we will be focusing more on the raw material, we will be focusing more on the manufacturing and the capacity building this time. Okay. That is about the you can say India's chip manufacturing, etc. Now for our own read, there is this article which is there on you can say on the page 11. Okay. On wings of micro light aircrafts, helping birds find their lost routes. Okay. Because of the various activities which are happening, or you can say mostly anthropogenic activities which are happening in the environment, because of which the migratory birds are getting diverted from their old routes. Okay. And to make sure that these birds are there on the same route, actually they follow the groups of the birds. So what we are doing is, we are going for the micro light aircraft which are having some kind of resemblance of a bird, and then these aircraft will be moving in a particular direction, or they will be there on the migration route, so that birds will be there on that particular route too. Okay, because they since these are having a resemblance with the birds, so they will be moving in that particular direction. Okay, so I hope that is clear. You can go through this particular article. Okay, in the end, there is a practice question, which is, which of the following countries is not a member of SCO, that is Shanghai Cooperation Organization? Okay, Belarus, Iran, Japan and Russia. Okay, so you can attempt this question, answer me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you. And if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Thank you.